Welcome to Season 3 of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast, where language learning meets innovation, culture, and pedagogy. I'm Mike, your host, and together we'll explore groundbreaking strategies, challenge traditional methods, and empower educators and learners alike. So whether you're a teacher, a student, or a language enthusiast, get ready to dive into insightful discussions, expert interviews, and practical tools that will transform the way you teach and learn languages. So grab your headphones and let's get started. Think about the last time you heard someone speak with an accent different from yours. Maybe it was a professor giving a lecture, or a colleague in a business meeting, or a character in a film. What was your immediate reaction? Did you admire their way of speaking? Were you intrigued by their pronunciation? Or perhaps, without realizing it, did you make a subconscious assumption about their intelligence, education, or even social status based on how they sounded? We don't like to admit it, but accents shape how we judge people. Some accents carry prestige, often associated with authority, sophistication, and intelligence. Others are stigmatized, seen as less educated, foreign, or even comical. But why? Why do some accents hold more social power than others? What happens when someone speaks a second language but retains their native accent? How do accents shape our identity and self-esteem? And why do they often become a source of discrimination? That's exactly what we're unpacking in today's episode. Accents, identity, and discrimination. Why do some accents have more prestige? In the following minutes, we'll explore what an accent actually is, how we develop accents, and why they persist even after years of learning a language. The historical forces behind accent prestige. How colonialism, media, and social class have dictated which accents are considered superior. The psychology of accent bias. Why our brains instantly make judgments based on pronunciation. The real-world consequences of accent discrimination. How accents impact hiring decisions, social mobility, and perceptions of intelligence. Why language learners often struggle with accent acceptance, facing pressure to sound native. Expert insights from linguists, cognitive scientists, and speech pathologists on the power of accents. Practical strategies for embracing your accent while improving clarity in communication. This is not just a conversation about pronunciation, right? It's about identity, privilege at a certain point, and the social structures that determine who gets to be heard and respected. So let's dive into the world of accents, how they define us, how they divide us, and how we can challenge the biases that surround them. Before we discuss the bias, discrimination, and prestige, we first need to break down what an accent actually is from linguistic and cognitive perspective. Many people mistakenly believe that having an accent means you're speaking incorrectly, or that there's a neutral way to speak a language. But the reality is, everyone has an accent. An accent is simply a way of pronouncing words that reflects your linguistic background, regional influence, and social identity. Let's start with this one, the components of an accent. Accents are formed through a combination of factors, and these ones include, first, phonetics and phonology, the way speech sounds are physically produced and organized in a language. Some languages have sounds that often don't. This is why English learners might struggle with the TH sound in words like this and think, while English speakers learning Spanish might have trouble rolling the R's. Another one is intonation and rhythm, the musicality of speech. Some languages, like Mandarin, are tonal, meaning that the pitch change can completely alter a word's meaning. English, in contrast, relies more on stress patterns and sentence rhythm. Third one, speech, tempo, and flow. Some languages have syllable time rhythms, like in Spanish or French, where each syllable is pronounced evenly, while others are stress time, like English and German, where some syllables are stretched and others are shortened. This affects the way people from different linguistic backgrounds speak. And second one, why do accents develop? Accents form based on early exposure to language, and they become deeply ingrained in our speech pattern. The critical period hypothesis. Research shows that before puberty, the brain is highly adaptable to new sounds. Children exposed to multiple languages early on can adapt native like pronunciation, whereas adults tend to retain their original accent even after decades of speaking a new language. And another one, social identity and accent retention. Many people hold on to their accent even after moving to a new country because it's part of their identity. It can be a source of pride, cultural connection, or even a way to maintain a sense of belonging. Another one, code switching and adaptation. Some bilingual speakers adjust their accents depending on their audience, a practice called code switching, which can be a survival tool in professional or social settings. Third, can an accent be changed? Well, accents can be modified through training and immersion. Completely eliminating an accent is rare. This brings us to an important question. Why do some accents hold more prestige than others? And here we go with the history of accent prestige, how power and politics shape perceptions. Accents don't exist in isolation. They are shaped by history, colonization, and power structures that dictate which ways of speaking are seen as prestigious and which are marginalized. Here we have the first one, the British Empire and the spread of prestige English. During the British Empire's expansion, English spread across the world, from India and Africa to the Caribbean and Australia. But not all English was treated equally. Received pronunciation, or RP, or the BBC English, was considered the elite standard. This accent, spoken by the British aristocracy, was associated with intelligence, power, and social status. Then we have the regional British accent, or Cockney, Scouse, Geordie, or Scottish, were stigmatized. They were often mocked in media and seen as less refined. Now, colonized nations were forced to abandon their native accents. In places like India and Kenya, speaking English with a British accent was a marker of high status, while local accents were viewed as lower class. These historical biases still affect us today. Post-colonial societies continue to associate British and American accent with education and professionalism, while local accents are often discouraged in professional settings. The second one, the rise of the neutral American accent. Here's another one. In the 20th century, as the United States became a global superpower, American English replaced British English as the dominant global influence. The general American accent, heard in news broadcasts and Hollywood, became the new standard of professionalism. Southern, New York, and African American vernacular English, or AAVE, were marginalized. People were encouraged to lose their regional accents to fit into corporate America. This accent hierarchy persists in higher media and education, especially in education right now, where certain ways of speaking are seen as professional, while others are dismissed. But why do we instinctively judge people's intelligence or credibility based on their accent. So, let's just review a little bit. We explore what an accent really is, why accents develop, and how history has shaped the prestige and stigma associated with certain ways of speaking. But now, we need to ask an even deeper question. Why do we instinctively judge people based on their accent? And what happens when those judgments impact people's opportunities, confidence, and even legal rights? Because at the end of the day, accents are not just about pronunciation, they are about identity, power, and who gets to be heard. Now, imagine this scenario. You're in a job interview. Two candidates walk in, both equally qualified. One speaks with a neutral American or British accent, the kind you often hear on news broadcasts. The other speaks fluently, but has a noticeable foreign or regional accent. Without even realizing it, many interviewers immediately favor the first candidate, not because of their qualifications, but because of how their accents sound. Why does this happen? Well, cognitive research in neurolinguistics shows that humans make snap judgments about intelligence, trustworthiness, and competence based on accents, often within the first few seconds of hearing someone speak. This is known as the accent prestige effect. And here we have the first one, how the brain processes accents, the familiarity bias. Our brains are wired to favor familiar accents and struggle with unfamiliar ones. Familiar accents require less cognitive effort. Studies have shown that when people hear an accent similar to their own, their brains process the speech more quickly and efficiently. The unfamiliar accent, on the other hand, requires more mental work because the brain has to adjust to different pronunciations and rhythms. It unconsciously perceives the speaker as harder to understand, even if their speech is perfectly clear. Another one. This leads to unconscious bias, definitely. People associate ease of comprehension with intelligence, even though accent has nothing to do with cognitive ability. A 2010 study at the University of Chicago found that people were more likely to doubt the credibility of statements made by someone with a foreign accent, even when the content was exactly the same as native speakers. This bias is not about the actual content of what's being said. It's about how much effort our brains have to put into understanding it. And unfortunately, this bias has real consequences. Accent bias doesn't just shape personal opinions. It actively impacts people's careers, education, legal rights, and self-esteem. Let's break down three major areas where accent discrimination has real effects. First, employment, how accents impact hiring and promotions. Study after study shows that people with non-prestige accents are less likely to be hired for high-paying jobs, even when their qualifications are identical to other candidates. A Yale University study found that hiring managers rated job candidates with foreign accents as less competent than those with standard American or British accents. And it's not just about foreign accent. Regional accents within the same country also face bias. In the US, for example, people with Southern or African American vernacular English accents are often assumed to be less educated. In the UK, the Scots, Liverpool, and Cockney from London accents are frequently judged as working class and less professional. In India, those with neutralized English accents are preferred in multinational companies over those with a local Indian English accent. This means millions of people are judged not by their skills, but by how they sound. And in some cases, They're even encouraged to change their accent to advance their careers. Second one, the legal system. How accent bias affects justice. Did you know that people with non standard accents are more likely to be judged as guilty in court? It is crazy, right? A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that witnesses with foreign accents were perceived as less credible than native English speakers, even when given the same testimony. This is especially dangerous in legal cases involving immigrants, refugees, and non native speakers, where an accent could subconsciously affect a judge or jury's perception of honesty. The justice system is supposed to be impartial, but accent bias means that some people's words carry less weight than others, simply because of how they sound. And third, the psychological toll, self-esteem, and language learning. Imagine moving to a new country, learning a new language, and still being treated as less intelligent because of your accent. Research shows that accent discrimination negatively impacts self-confidence, social interactions, and mental health. Many language learners experience anxiety when speaking in public, pressure to fix their accent to fit in, and fear of being ridiculed or dismissed. This is why many people take accent reduction courses, not because they don't love their culture, but because they want to be taken seriously. And yet, here's the irony. We celebrate accents when they sound exotic in entertainment, but we criticize them in real life. Actors with British or French accents are often perceived as sophisticated, but someone with a Spanish or Chinese accent in an office might be seen as less professional. This double standard reinforces linguistic inequality, which brings us to our final point. How do we challenge these biases and create a world where every voice is valued? Challenging accent discrimination. How we move forward. What can we do? Well, let's take a look at these ideas here. Recognize and challenge our own biases. We all have subconscious biases, but being aware of them is the first step. Next time you judge someone's intelligence based on their accent, pause and ask yourself why. Second, normalize diverse accents in professional spaces. Hiring managers, teachers, and corporate leaders should actively challenge the idea that only one way of speaking is professional. Third, encourage clarity, not erasure. It's okay to work on pronunciation for better communication, but no one should feel like they have to erase their accent to be respected. And before we're moving forward, let me remind you that you can pay a visit to our website, MikeEnglishOnline.com. Come on, pay a visit. Are you interested in learning more? Do you want to actually take a course with us? You want to check on your teaching abilities? You want to actually get a program for your methodologies or pedagogy or how to teach a language? Join us. Go. Again, MikeEnglishOnline.com. Subscribe over there. Contact us. We can help you there. Also, if you want to actually learn a language, why not? Join us and we can actually just get the best course for you. Okay? Broad Club Languages. Go to MikeEnglishOnline.com. Get your package. Check on there. And let's keep working on your language and your professional development. And don't forget that we upload new episodes every Monday and Friday. So don't forget to tune in weekly for your dose of thought-provoking conversations. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and follow us for more. And well, at the end of the day, accents tell stories. They are windows into culture, history, and identity. And if we truly want a world where everyone's voice matters, We need to stop letting accents define someone's intelligence or worth. So the next time you hear an accent different from your own, listen without judgment, because every accent tells a story. Until next time, keep speaking in your own voice, keep exploring new voices around you, and keep growing in understanding and empathy.